Today I'm gonna learn you how to make a cell shader. This is gonna be a global cell shader, so it's gonna be a post-process material. And basically what it's gonna do, bam, instantly much better. There's no point making something if you don't understand how it works. So I'm gonna take you through how it's set up. We're gonna go through it together, and hopefully by learning how to build it, you understand how to take it apart. And you know, if you want to and you know start to suit your game, then if you want to, then you'll be able to. So, what is a cell shader? What does it do? What does it look like? So, you can see here it's nighttime. When I've got the effect disabled, this light source just has a smooth gradient from white down to black. You know, this looks nice. Okay, cool. But when you have the cell shader applied, it breaks up all those luminosity values into distinct bands. So this is how you get that sort of effect that all of the character models in Breath of the Wild use, or Genshin Impact, or basically any sort of anime-inspired game will use a cell shader for their characters. So the first thing we're gonna do is, in our content browser, we are gonna right-click, we are gonna click Material. We're gonna have a new material. Mine's called Tutorial Cell Shader. And we are going to open that up. First thing we'll do is down here, I can get my dumb head out of the way, where it says Material Domain, we're gonna click on that, and instead of Surface, we're gonna click Post-Process. Bam. Let's grab Scene Texture, and just for now, we'll grab the diffuse color. All right. Back to our main screen, you'll notice nothing is different, and that is because we need to go over here to our components panel. Mine's off screen, sorry. And we're gonna search in that volume and go to post-process volume. And we're gonna drag and drop that into our scene. Looks like this here little cube. Very cool. Right, first thing we're gonna do is click on it. We're gonna go to our details panel. We are gonna search bound, and where it says infinite extent and then in brackets unbound, we're gonna click that. Bam. Right, so our bounds is infinite, and down here, I'm gonna right click that, and we're gonna create a material instance. And I'm just gonna keep my name the same thing with inst at the end. And then in our post-process volume, click it, search the details. We're gonna search MAT, M-A-T. We're gonna find post-process materials, and we're gonna click this plus sign. Then in this drop down, we're gonna click asset reference. And then in this drop down, we are gonna find material instance of our cell shader. Bam, something changed. This looks different. This is the diffuse color channel, and only the diffuse color channel. So, a good thing to do, a good word of advice, something that really helped me, is click this and just explore what all of these different scene textures do. For example, we just saw diffuse color post-process input 0. If I save our process and go back to our thingo, you'll see that this is exactly what we had before. This is just the finished render of our scene. This will really come in handy later on when we run into some issues that some cell shaders that I've seen on YouTube run into. Quick thing we're gonna do before we start is we're gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom and up a tiny bit, and where it says blendable location, we are gonna set that to before tone mapping. All right. Everything is set up, and now we are ready to begin building our cell shader material. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our post-process input 0, And we're gonna duplicate that, and this one will be our diffuse color. Now with both of them, we are gonna desaturate, the saturation node. And then we are gonna divide this by this. And we'll plug that in and take a little look at it. What this is our true luminosity value of the scene. Bits that are in sunlight are bright, and bits that are in the darkness are dark. So this is the basis for our entire cell shading effect. Right, so what we're gonna do with this lighting value is we're gonna pop this up, say here, and we are gonna use an if node. Now, if you're not familiar with what an if node is, really, it's just a node that is asking a question. And that question is, if A is greater than B, do this. And if A is less than B, do this. So, the question we want to ask this node is, if A, our extracted lighting value, is greater than B, a arbitrary threshold, let's just go 1 for now, then we want to do something. So if A is greater than B, what we're going to do, because this is our top layer of our cell shader, this is our white layer, we are just going to set this to another scalar value, and it's going to be 5, which is like super duper white. Like 1 is regular white, 5 is like blindingly white. Cool. And then if A is less than B, what we're going to want to do is to grab another diffuse color, and we're going to multiply that by a tint value. So we'll grab another scalar value. The shortcut for scalar value is hold down 1 on your keyboard and click. I'm going to plug that in. This one will times it by 4. What we're going to want to do is parameterize this one. This will be called our white threshold. And this one down here will be called our white tint. This is good. We are going to copy this and we are going to paste it down here. Now this one is going to be called our highlight threshold. And this one will be called our highlight tint. Very good. Now, the trick here is if A is greater than B, we don't want it to be blinding white. If it's greater than B, we want it to be this one. So we're going to get this, we're going to plug it down there, and then in the A channel, we're going to plug in our lighting value. So what we're going to do next, same thing. We're going to grab that. We're going to plug this one into the A is greater than B. We're going to plug in our lighting value into the A. And we're going to rename this our neutral. Neutral threshold. And this will be our neutral tint. Cool. Alright, I'm just going to repeat this a few times. You get the gist, but I'm going to do this a few more times and then tidy it up a little. So, mine has 8 layers. You might only want 3. You might want 256. That was a joke. I'll put all my values up on the screen if you just want to copy them if you're following along. We've hooked all of them up with that same method, so the output of the one above goes into the A is greater than B of the one below it. And then we are going to pop this out into our emissive color. Save. So as you can see, yeah, you know, this is sort of the look that we're going for, but there is a problem, and this is a problem that every cell shading tutorial that I've seen runs into the issue of as soon as you put a colored light in the scene, pump up its intensity, and I'm going to change its color to red, and you watch what happens. See that? White, red. So you'll soon find out that nothing happens. Colored lights do not exist according to the diffuse color channel. My workaround for this, we're gonna get our post-process input 0, which is our finished render, you know, lights and all. If I just plug this in, for example, and we hit save and go back to our scene. So this is it, you know, in normal rendering mode, and you can see that color light works and it's beautiful. So what we're gonna do with this is we are going to normalize it. And after we normalize it, just from trial and error, I found that multiplying it by 1.5 is quite beneficial. Just take my word for it. So it takes our scene and it basically condenses it down into a really flat looking image. This is just color. This is just the color of our scene. And you can see that this colored light here is still working. So, we jump back into our material. This whole Cel-Shader that we built just before, we are gonna destroy it by desaturating it. So this will leave us with just a black and white image, like this. It's still Cel-Shaded, it's just black and white. So we are gonna multiply our desaturated Cel-Shader thing by this sort of extracted color. We're gonna inject it into the original image and then chuck that into the emissive color. And all of a sudden, we've got our Cel-Shaded look back, but what this? What this? It's a colored light. Any color will do. This is very good news. And the other thing is, we've got our SKYBOX back. You might be wondering, why does your scene look terrible compared to this? And that would be because if we go into the material instance of our material, our Cel-Shader, if I grab the neutral threshold and play around with it a bit, you'll see that bits are getting brighter and darker. See this kind of line in this bush, or this line that sort of divides the bush in half. You use these sliders to determine, you know, where this line kind of falls. A lot of it is sort of balancing it afterwards. So, you know, you can up the subsurface intensity of, you know, your materials. But yeah, it's just about finding what looks good for your project. So all in all, that's basically it. Now there are a few little add-ons, few little bonus tips. Back in our material, if we want something to not be Cel-Shaded, we're gonna grab our scene texture, we're gonna get our scene depth, we're gonna copy that, paste it, and then we're gonna grab our custom depth. And what we're gonna do is grab another if node, and right, I dicked it up. First we need to mask these two values here, and we're just gonna mask a single channel because they have to be a scalar value. They have to be a single numerical value. So, right, that's all fixed up. Cool. Now we hop back in the game. This might be what you want. You might want a regular scene, but then you want your characters to be Cel-Shaded. So if you want something to be Cel-Shaded, you're gonna go into its details. You're gonna search render custom depth pass. Right there, you can see that. So I click that, and all of a sudden, our single object is Cel-Shaded. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Charlie from the future, and the cat is on my keyboard. Just to clarify, this is how it should be set up. This is one of the configurations. So the two configurations are you have everything cel shaded by default, and you enable the custom depth pass to uncel shade it. This might be it, I'm not sure. And then if you want the inverse of whatever that one was, you set it up like this. So you want to be switching these values instead of these values. These ones should always stay like this. So back to the video. Well, that's so meta. Right, another little bonus. We can get our ambient occlusion channel and multiply it by our end product. Go back to our scene, and let's look at the stump. If we go to our post-process volume again and search ambient, then we can see we can add ambient occlusion and all of its other byproducts. So, you know, this might be a look that you're going for. I personally like the super flat look, but you know, this looks nice too. We can go super overboard with it so you can see the effect a bit more. It can look really, really nice on geometry, like this house, for example. It can really bring some gradients back into the scene while still maintaining that cel shaded look, and it can, you know, give a lot of depth to the trees and stuff. Taking the color from post-process input 0 and injecting that into our desaturated layer sort of gets around a lot of the issues, so we can have like glass and even like metallic and reflective objects will work with this method. You want to apply this at the very start of your project, because every single decision that you make will revolve around this post-processing method. I believe that's everything. I believe that's the entire thing covered from start to finish. I guess I will find out when I start to edit this video. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. I guess with that, I say goodbye. Goodbye.